Welcome back to the N4 Learning channel. So we're going to look at fan coils today. Fan coils are mostly in every building. There's so many fan coils sometimes in buildings, it's unbelievable. So the air handling unit would normally feed air from outside into a plenum above the roof tiles, the ceiling tiles in the offices, and then the the fan coil unit, will then feed the room. So we're going to do some strategy so we can forget about all this lot, but I'm not interested in this. So let's just start on a new folder and call it fan coil unit. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put all the inputs and outputs that we think we would need on a fan coil unit. Now I know the EDGE 10 unit, the Tridium Niagara EDGE 10, that's got 5 universal inputs, 2 analog outputs and 3 digital outputs, but it's got RS485, so you could put an eMMC module onto that as well. But should we start with the EDGE 10 and let's see where we go. So let's just do new text block EDGE 10, and we've got 5 UIs. We've got that's not the text, that's just a name for it. EDGE 10 notes. We've got EDGE 10, 5 UIs. We've got 2 AOs, and we've got 3 DOs, I think. So let's start with that. Save that so we know what our inputs and outputs are. So let's start putting some inputs and outputs. Well, we've definitely got a room temperature, so let's go to the Boolean writable room temperature. That's what we want the room, that's the room temp. That's coming back from the room. And let's just clean that up a little bit, take out the in16 and actions set. I don't know, let's say we'll put that to 21 at the moment. Views, AX slot sheet, we leave them all as it is because it's not a set point, and we need to put Celsius in here. So let's just go down to our temperature K and we'll put Celsius in here, 1 decimal point. Save. So that's our room temperature. We can put a history on that if we want to, and we can actually put an alarm on that, out of temperature alarm, if the sensor goes faulty, but at the moment we'll just leave it at that. So we also need a set point. Or should we just do the inputs first? No, let's as we're going by, let's just do this. So I'm going to duplicate that room set point. So we're going to be adjusting that set point for that room. So I'm going to go pin slots, and I'm going to take out in 10 and put that to set. OK. And as you can see, if I do views, actions, I've got all these here, which I don't want. I don't want the emergency override, auto override. So let's views, AX slot sheet, and let's take out them. So config flags, and we're going to hide them. And then we don't want someone putting a stupid set point in. So on the maximum, let's say that they can't go above, even though 28 is stupid, and let's say they can't go below 16 degrees, because we don't want it too cold in that room. Average 21 degrees, 22 degrees. So that's that. We can leave the 0 in there, but I'm going to take that out so we can actually just do whole numbers, or it's not showing the after the decimal place. So we've got room temperature, room set point. What else do we need for that? We need some fan coils have the on temperature and the off temperature. So duplicate that and we do FCU on. I'm not saying all of them have got it, but some of them do have the on and the off temperature. So the temperature coming in and the temperature being delivered from the fan coil. So we put that to off, temp. So next we want the flow to see whether it's flowing or not, and we need an enable. So let's just take that back down there. Let's put an enable in there. So enable FCU, and that would be tied into the safety circuit as well. So enable FCU safety, okay, including fire alarm of course. Pin slots, in fact I'm not going to call it enable, I'm going to call it start. So rename that and we'll call it start. Really? Actions, we set that to false. Views, that would be on, that would be off. And that would be coming in to us. What else do we need? Let's just move them there. So we need to prove that there's a fan coil flow. So I can take that, duplicate, FCU, DP. So we've got pitos either side of the fan, monitoring the differential pressure, monitoring flow basically. So that would be flow and no flow. So that's checking the flow. What else could there be? We're doing all the inputs at the moment. Well, some fan coils have got a high temperature cutout alarm, and some have got filter alarms, and also got fan coil alarms. Should we do them? Duplicate, FCU, high temperature cutout. And should we make it fail safe? So it's got to be enabled. So if it goes faulty or the wire is cut. So true is healthy. And false is high temp, which would have an alarm attached to that. So actions, and we set that at the moment to healthy. Filter alarm then. Duplicate fan coil filter. Panel filter will be in there. We don't need to worry about that being the opposite way around, so we'll put that as healthy and dirty, or no, yeah, dirty and clean. Save that. And should we go for fan coil fault as well? actions set to clean, duplicate, FCU, fault, and that's going to be healthy. I don't know what's going on with my fingers and my keyboard at the moment, but I seem to be getting all these wrong. Fault. Right. Can we think of any more inputs? We've got the room temperature, we've got the fan coil on, fan coil off, we've got the enable, we've got a high temperature cutout if it's thyristor based. Fan coil filter. Sorry, I just thought I spelled filter wrong there, but I haven't. Fan coil fault and room set point. With regard control stuff, I think what we're going to do is we're going to, in fact, I'll just duplicate that, and we put max fan speed, and that will be in a percent. So let's go into there, change that to null, miscellaneous, sorry, and percent, and we can go from 10, not that 10's really low, normally it's 40-50, but we'll leave it at that, to 100 for the speed, and duplicate, and minimum fan speed, and we'll just use the same settings there. So maximum fan speed action set, let's just set that to 80, but it can go right up to 100 if we wanted to, and minimum actions set, and we'll set that to 40. So minimum fan speed, maximum fan speed, so that means we're using an analog output for the fan speed. There's going to be our loops. We need a dead band, so we'll duplicate that one, dead band, and we need that setting at around about 1 degree, 2 degrees, but let's go for minimum 1 and maximum 10. 10's 5 degree either side, so that's high. Save. So we've got a dead band for our logic there as well. Actions set, and we'll just use, well, we'll use 2, which is 1 degree either side. So we've got our dead band, maximum fan speed. I think that is it. Do we want fabric protection? So that if the temperature of the room goes below 16 degrees, we actually put the fan coil on even if it's not being asked for. And then, do we actually put a PIR in the roof so that the fan coil will start when someone enters the room, rather than having an enable as well? So that would work, wouldn't it? So let's do the PIR business. Duplicate, and room occupied. So we'll use that. So the other one can just be our safety, but we'll use that. So if the room's occupied, let's change that to occupied or knock. And need anything else. Room occupied, time clock, scheduler, whatever. Room occupied, safety's okay. So we need, that would be like our master time clock, which would probably be on all the time in this scenario at the moment. On. That's the room occupied. Do we need frost protection or fabric protection? Let's put it in. Let's go for it. So I need a set, and I'll use that. Duplicate, fabric protection, and change the settings there to, I don't know, I can set it from 12 degrees or 10 degrees to 18 degrees. I would normally set fabric protection to 16. Action set, but I've known it being set to 12. 16 degrees fabric protection. So that's our inputs and our adjustments, and I can't think of anything else at this time. I think we've gone OTT, definitely gone over the top there, and we certainly haven't got enough UIs and AOs and DOs to do all this. Well, I don't know about DOs and AOs, but if we're using fan speed and we're using a heating coil and a cooling coil, we certainly haven't got enough AOs. And DOs, fan enable, yeah. So let's start now on the DOs. Duplicate, fan or FCU, enable, FCU. And we will change the text to be enable, disable. Enable, disable. Go OK to that. And then I want valve control, but I could also have it could also be a thermistor control for the heater battery. But that could use 0 to 10, or it could just be on and off. So really I want to cover both of it, don't I? So let's do it as a water system first. So heating, valve, and we'll take out in 16 because we won't be using that, and it's going to be 0 to 100%. I don't want to use that because it's got a 0, the minimum and maximum, so I will just select it myself here. Percent, OK. Take out the decimal place. So that's going to be my analog 0 to 10 volts out for that. Let's set that to 0. And then of course we've got a cooling valve. If it's a 4-port, if it's just a 2-port, then it can either be, I've seen 2-port fan coils on the perimeter of a glazed building, and it's just got a cooling coil because of the thermal gain, and I've seen them also just have a heating coil, but I've also seen them have the heating and cooling coils as well. What else? We want fan speed, don't we? So duplicate that and fan speed. So we need to do the logic for the fan speed. I can't think of anything else. Enable, heating, cooling, fan speed. That is it. That's your physical fan coil. You've got your filter. You've got your, yeah, sometimes you've got on and off temperatures. You haven't got anything else in a fan coil that I can think of, but I'm sure you will put something in the comments if you can think of something else on a fan coil that I have forgotten about. But that is the normal outputs. A lot of inputs there, and let's be honest, we're not going to use all them inputs aren't normally used on a fan coil. But I can't think of anything else. Now you can get fan coils with controllers already built in, like a Distech controller, Tridium controller, Trend controller, Trend Eco. But sometimes you can just buy fan coils which hasn't got a controller in, and you've got a 0 to 10 for the speed, you've got a fan enable, and then you've got your valves there for port with your cooling and your heating, and then you've got to write your own software. Now normally they say the Edge 10 is for a fan coil, but let's be honest, 5 UIs, 2 AOs would be for your valves, your heating and your cooling, nothing to do with speed, and your 3 DOs, one would be to enable it, and then the other one could be for speed 1 and the other one for speed 2. Your 5 UIs, well, you definitely need an enable. You definitely need the room temperature. You probably won't need the fan coil on and off, and you probably won't even need to prove flow with a DP, and you may not even need to do the HTCO, and you may not need to check the filter. And the fault, well, if we haven't got any flow, it's in fault. So you could get away with an Edge 10, but I think we're going OTT with this and thinking of every scenario that we can think of. So we need to know whether we are using a wet heater or a thyristor control, or no, because if thyristor control 0 to 10, the wet heater is 0 to 10. So we need to know whether we're using thyristor control on and off, or we are using 0 to 10. So is the heating digital or is it 0 to 10? And do we add that into the logic? I don't know, because if that's the case, I also need, where I've got my heating valve, I need an on and off for the heater. So let's just put an on and off for the heater here. Duplicate, fan coil, I don't want all that there, fan coil, heater, on, off. And we'll change that text to heat on, heat off. Right, so let's now, we've got our inputs, we've got our outputs, and that is it at the moment, but let's put some alarms on these and things like that first. I just want to put these into the order that I've actually got it on my spreadsheet first. So right click that, go down to reorder, expand that up. So I've got start fan coil first, that's what I used, and then room occupied. I then decided we're going to put a presence sensor, a PIR, and then we got room temp, and then I did fan coil on temp, fan coil off temp. So we had them there, move them up to there, and then we've got fan coil DP, so there's going to move down, fan coil DP, HTCO filter, fault, room set point was the next after fault, and then minimum fan speed, maximum fan speed, and then deadband, and then fabric protection, and then we enabled heating coil, cooling coil, fan speed, and heater off. Okay, so that's in the same order. So let's first of all do our alarms. So extensions in alarm palette, and we have got we've got this alarm, and this alarm. 3 alarms. And we don't have any more alarms to put in on the binary anyway. So Boolean change of state alarm. Let's drop that into there. Oops, don't want it in the DP. We don't want an alarm on the DP to say it's running. We want it in there, which is going to be the wrong way round. But we'll just take that one, put it in there, open it up. Let's change it to the right way round. So we want it in alarm at high temp, and we can have that in the box there. We can put high temp in this box here. Healthy. Save. That's that one done. And we're going to just copy that one, but we're going to have to change it. Paste into that one. So this is our filter alarm. Dirty. Clean. And we want it to go into alarm when it's dirty. And we'll copy that again and paste it into the fault. Okay. And we go fault, exclamation mark, healthy. And that still stays there, alarm value. Right, so there are the alarms done for the binaries. Now let's do the alarms for out of range for the temperatures. So the temperatures coming in is the room temp, these 3 here, and that's it. So out of range, room temp. Let's go into that. And high range for room temp. Well, if a room is 100 degrees, we've got a problem. If a room is 50 degrees, 60 degrees, we've got a problem. So let's just put 60 degrees there. And the low, well, if the room is below 10, we've got an issue. I'm going to put a dead band of 1. So high limit text, temperature sensor above 60 degrees. It's actually going to be 60.5, but we can leave it like that. Control key C, temperature sensor below 10 degrees. Enable that, enable that. So that would do me for that one. Save that. Oh, I'll tell you what we want to do here now, in case we've got more than one fan coil, let's just write the logic. So say this is fan coil 1. So what we want to do, because it's alarms, but we still want to put where it is. So let's control key C. It's alright getting an alarm in, but if you don't know what fan coil the alarm is actually for, if you've got lots and lots of fan coils, and we need to put another parent in there. So that will tell us that it's fan coil, and if you've got a 1 there, room temperature. So we now know where it is. So let's save that. And that was for out of alarm. So let's just put in there, well, let's just do the others. That was the room temperature. Let's do, oh, I haven't done any more for the others yet, so that's fine. So we're keeping this, and issue, healthy, fault, save. And then we can take that we can copy it, we can paste it to the on temp. So the on temp, would the on temp go above 60 degrees? I doubt it very much, but I'm still going to make that a little bit higher. 100, not that it will be. It's mainly for an issue with where the sensor's faulty. And copy that, and the off temp, paste that. Oops, what have I done there? Copy, paste. Probably tried to paste it in the proxy. Right, and we can leave that at the same temperature, and we are monitoring the parent there. So where we had our faults, which is there, we need to know which fan coil is giving us the fault. So control key C underscore control key V and put a parent in there. I can just highlight over that now. Same if I'm typing it all again. Command C, control C, into that one, control key V, save, and into that one, save. Right then, let's put some histories on there now. So we want our history palette, and we want our history extensions, and we will go with our binaries first. I'm going to put Boolean change of value on every one of these, but before I continue to copy that across, I want to know what the history is for. Again, if we've got lots and lots of fan coils, we want to know which fan coil, parent, so it's actually going to look at fan coil, and then it is 1, 2, 3, 4, so we can duplicate that. So we can save that one, and then we can copy that, and we can put it into the occupied DP. I know this is putting an alarm up as well, but we're going to put histories on all of them as well. I'm putting histories on every binary point. So that's histories on all of them. Now we need to put histories on numeric change of value on every temperature sensor, or every numeric sensor. So what we do there, again, control key C underscore control key V, put a parent in there so we know what fan coil it is. We'll do a change of tolerance of 1. We'll leave it at default 500 points, but we could increase that if we wanted to. And I'm going to say yes to that one, so save that. I'm going to copy that, paste it into that, paste it into that, paste it. No, we don't need histories. Well, yeah, you never know. I might want to see what they've changed it to. Let's put it into all of them. Why not? We don't need to bring them in. We can see if they changed the deadband, fabric protection, heating valve, fan speed, and that's it. So we've got all our histories and our alarms done. So now all we've got to do is write the logic in between them. Our inputs on the left, let's just put a note there. Note. We know what they are anyway, but note inputs and inputs, background yellow, give it a border, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it bold. Save. Inputs and duplicate. Outputs, note, we call it note outputs. What's wrong with my spelling? Outputs. Save. And those are our outputs. I'm going to just move them right across there. So we want room occupied. That's going to be, I'm going to put PIR at the end so we know that it's not a switch, it's a PIR. Now, should we just have the PIR as a normal PIR that's going to put on a time so we can actually adjust the time? So let's put now, again, another adjustable. And we'll just take that, we'll duplicate that, and PIR time on. And we'll put it into minutes rather than hours, and definitely not seconds. So select time, and we'll put it into minutes. Okay. And minus inf plus inf. In fact, we could set the minus inf to no less than 10 minutes, but let's leave it that they can actually adjust it. So that's actually got history attached to it as well. Yes, it has. It's got the numeric attached to it. Now, what we need to do with that, let's go into kit control, because we need to change this to milliseconds. So let's go to maths and let's find the multiply, and sec underscore millisec. Put that into there. Times by 1,000. And times by 60. Save. So that's 16 minutes. Let's put that action set to 15 minutes. And then we need both them as an AND. So let's take logic, start FCU, put that into there, put that into there, just rename them A and B's. I know they're right near it, but still rename them. And safety scheduler, whatever you want to call it. Right, long safety scheduler enable, and I don't need to, I can actually put that there, and I can go PIR occupied. So that's that done. Probably gone too long with that, but hey ho. And then let's do a fire a timer. We will fire a one shot. We'll probably change it later. Time period. Because if someone's moving around, this is going to go on and off, on and off. So we'll put that into the in, and we'll expand the pin slots, and we'll put in the time there, and I might as well have fire, and I'll take out the out not at the moment, and we'll put that into time 15 minutes. And we can fire it if we want to, and that's our output there. So let's just move some of these down to keep it nice and tidy. And we'll bring them into play when we want them into play. So that is us now ready to start the fan coil. Someone has entered into the room. So here we go. Actions, emergency, active. Actions, emergency, auto. Someone's entered into the room, and I have got the output on for 15 minutes. So with that in mind, we need to enable the fan coil. Now, do we need to enable the fan coil if we've got a fan coil fault? Probably not. Filter dirty, yeah. Fan coil fault is faulty, it's not going to run. So let's not enable the fan coil if it's a fault. So we can actually take that and put that in the AND gate, can't we? Take that and put that into the AND gate. So the fan coils, now the fault, was it fail safe for fault or not? No, it wasn't. See the fault's there. So healthy. So we need to reverse that signal. So we need to put a NOT gate in there, which is easy enough to do. And FAU reverse. Put that into there. So a fan coil is healthy. Now put that into there. And then I'm just going to go my pin slots, just expose C and views and AX slot sheet and FCU healthy. And because I think that's too long, let's just take that, put safety enable. So now we can run the fan coil because we're healthy and we want the fan coil to run. That up there, and we want it to run for 15 minutes. So now let's enable the fan coil. I think before we enable, what I'm going to do with this fan coil here, and probably the heater battery, the heater on and off, we're going to put a extension in there. And where are we? Where is my enable fan coil? Discrete totalizer. Let's put that in there, and then we'll bring the points back out. So composite, discrete totalizer, and change of state count, elapsed time, and we'll bring the resets out there. So if I enable that now, that starts counting how long that fan has ran for. Not that we're changing it over or anything, but it's just nice to know, looking at the logic, oh, that fan's been running for God knows how many hours. We'll do the same with the heater on and off. Not that we'll probably be using that, but let's fan coil heater on and off. Let's put a discrete totalizer in there, and then composite, and let's bring that out as well, because we can. So change of state count, bring them across. Right, so our fan coil is now running. We want to prove that our fan coil is running, so we want our DP there. So before we think about putting heating, cooling or any conditioning, we need to prove that that fan coil is actually got flow. So what we need to do now is When that goes true, we can then start our logic for our heating and cooling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just use T-stats for on and off, and then do I use PIs after that? No, I could just use PIs for the heating valve. I'll tell you what, what to use. Do we select heating or do we select cooling, depending on the set point, and then use the PI loop for that particular one? Let's have a play. The ideal would be probably just to use a PI loop for the heating or cooling. But let's have a play here. So T-stat. Let's put that to heating. And let's expand that. Pin slots. Diff set point CV. And our differential. I'm sure we've got a diff here. We have. And we've got our set point. So differential, our room set point is going to be there. Our dead band is going to be there. And our room temperature is going to be there. So there's our set point. Let's move that down out of the way at the moment. And that's our differential there. And let's take out that. And let's change that to reverse. Save. So if my room set point was higher at 25 degrees, heating's required. Let's duplicate that and call it cooling. This time we need to reverse it, so it needs to be direct. Save. So the action is the opposite way. Again, diff, room set point, control variable. So there's no way you will get the heating output and the cooling output to be on at the same time with that logic. So let's set point, actions, set, and we'll put it to 19 degrees. We're cooling because it's 21. Actions set to 21 degrees. We're still cooling because we haven't gone over that. Let's set that down. Actions set to 1 degree, 0.5 either side. So I would need to get to actions set 21.6. So we're now heating. Actions set 21. So that's our heating and cooling with using a dead band there. Set to 2, 1 degree either side. So we're 21 degrees set point. Currently we're at 21. Actions, emergency override. And if we get to 22.1, that's false, and now we're in the cooling mode because we want 21. Probably the wrong way to do it, to be honest. So let's ignore that at the moment. And let's use a PI loop now. So let's use the old PI loop. And pin slots, loop enable, control variable, set point, prop int, max min. Okay. So our loop enable is going to be from that, and let's just actions set that to, we've got flow, and then our room temperature is our control variable there, and our set point is there, and then we'll put 5 0.1 save. And let's change our set point actions, set that to 25. It's 21 degrees, so we know we want cooling. So I'm just wondering how we're going to do this cooling and heating. I think what we may do, I want to just use one loop point to do it all. So know when we're heating and know when we're cooling, which is easy to do. It's not a problem. So at the moment, we're trying to maintain 25. So we should be heating at the moment. So that is our heating loop. So that's our heating going to that heating valve there. And if I do it the opposite way, action set, and we put that to 19 degrees, that's gone down to 0, but we don't want 0. I want minus 100. And we can play with them figures. So that's now going to 0. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to put a maximum block in there, logic, and a max block. Heating only. Take that, put that into there, and I'm going to set the B to 0. So it will never ever go below 0. Delete. And I'll take that and put that into there. Now I'm also going to put a minimum block, drop that into there, cooling only, and I'm going to take that and put that into there, and then I'm going to put that to 0. Save. Now that's giving me a minus, so I'm going to use an ABS value, cooling valve, take that, put that into that, and then put that into that. Again, it won't overlap itself because it's only got one loop point, which we'll call that heating, cooling, and it's PI, proportional integral. So now with that flow of a fan coil, we can do heating and cooling, so we don't need these T-stats. They are obsolete for us because we can just use that PI there. Now we might want to quicken up the PI, and do we give the user the option to quicken up the PI, or do we actually have it set and we just change it ourselves? I don't think it'd be wise to give the user that option. But now I'm thinking the dead bands, because what's going to happen there is we're reaching room temperature 21, we want 19. As soon as we set that set point to 25, is now cooling coils on and heating coils on. Cooling coils off, sorry, and heating coils on. But if I set that to 21, minus, I'm going to set that prop to a 2, and I'm going to set it to a 1. No, I'm not. I'm going to double it, a 4 and a 2. But we could actually have an adjustable that we can adjust it ourselves. And we might want to do that, rather than going into the logic, we might want to do that via the backnet. If we're bringing it in via backnet, we might want to adjust that. But now we've got no heating or cooling because we've basically made temperature. So that is actually not a bad control, to be honest. And as soon as we start not making temperature, so room temp gets a little, we've got a lot of people in there, so let's set that now to 21.6. so we're getting a slightly warmer, and there we go, 3% for our cooling valve, trying to get that back down to 21. So I think we're going to forget our deadband and actually use that in our logic. And the hotter it gets in that room, so let's say it's 24 now, really hot, lots of people in there, that's opening up higher, and it will continue to open up higher. And then actions, set that to 19 degrees, it's getting really cold in that room. So that's off at the moment, and we start putting on our heating valve. And then we get to 21 degrees in that room. i.e. set point. And we've got a little bit of cooling on there. Okay. We'll leave that as it is. Now fan speed. The further we are away from set point is the only way that we're going to control that fan speed. So we're going to take that loop again, we duplicate, and we go speed PI. And again we can enable it because we've got flow. No, we don't want to enable it because we've got flow. We'll enable it as soon as we enable the fan coil. So we'll take that right there and we'll bring that into there. So speed will enable as soon as we do the fan coil. And then we also want the fan speed we want to run on. So let's have a, well, let's do the minimum and maximum of the fan speed first of all, in case it's too noisy. So minimum 40, maximum 80. So let's bring them up there. Now we're using these blocks, and these are still temperatures, there's still things that we've got to still connect to or work with, but on temp and off temp is just for graphic use only if it's there. Not too bothered about that. So our control variable and our set point. So what do we do here? Our control variable and set point. So we've got to know what the difference is between one and the other first of all. The bigger the difference, the faster the speed. Lower the difference. So at the moment there's hardly any difference. So let's do either a, let's just do a subtract, and then we'll put an ABS in case it goes both ways. So temp diff. Put a capital T in there. and we take that and put that into there, and we take that and we put that into there. That's our temp diff. And then we need an ABS, so in case it goes the opposite way, we've always got a value, a plus value. Put that into there. That's our differential temperature. We'll put it into temperature here for us. Temperature, Celsius, okay. And I'm going to leave the 1 decimal place. And we can actually put that in there as well. So we can just copy that into that one there. So our temperature difference is our control variable. And let's give a temperature difference at the moment. So set that to 25 degrees. We've got a temperature difference of 4. If we leave our set point at 0, let's set to 30 degrees. Oops, 28 was the maximum that I can put that to. And let's move that to direct. And we're not on with our loop because our 15 minutes is up. That's the reason why. So let's fire it again. Someone's moved in the room, for example. So we know that works. And there's our loop enabled, control variable, and there's our speed. And that's our fan speed. And the closer we get to set point, the lower the speed should be. Trickling it over nicely. So let's get to set point. Actions, set to 21. Because it's 21 degrees. And I am expecting to see that go down, but what is happening here? So control variable 0. Right. And we've got 0, so it's staying at the same speed. And if it went the opposite way, then it would go down, which is no good to us. So we need to address that. We need to address that. So let me put a set point in there of, just for now, of a 1. 1. Now we're going down. And it will go down to the minimum of 40. But so it won't go any lower than 40. Control variable 0, that's going to go down to 40. And what happens if it's the other way round? It's still going to be the same, because the diff, this ABS, is always going to be a positive number. So it really doesn't make any difference. So actions, emergency override, and we'll put that down to 16 degrees. We've still got a 5 differential. So we're back up to maximum speed of 80. And then actions, emergency auto, 21 and 21, we're lowering the speed down. So that will work for that one. So that's our fan speed done, that's our heating and cooling valve done. Now our heater on and off, what we're going to do with this, because we may not have a valve and it may be an on and off heating. But I think I'm going to put you on pause and get myself a coffee. So let me put you on pause because we've been 1 hour at the moment. Right, I've got my drink, but I still no wiser. So we're either going to use a heating valve, 0 to 10 control, a thyristor would be 0 to 10 control, and the heater on and off, the binary, is not 0 to 10. So we need to put some sort of selection in there of whether we're using analog or binary for heating. So let's put a Boolean switch in there, and heating type, and if we've got it at false, I don't know, we'll put binary, and do I put binary? I'll tell you what, no, let's put on and off, and let's put 0 to 10. Save. Pin slots. Let's take out in 10 and in 16, and let's hide views AX slot sheet. Let's hide all these. Oops, I want to hide another one. Click on that and click on that, and config flags hidden, and actions set to 0 to 10. Control is that one. So now let's use a numeric switch. So numeric switch, we'll call it in a minute when I think of a name for it. So that's our true. So let's put that into there, because it's only for heating. So that's our true, and come back out of there into there. And we'll call that, rename, heating 0 to 10, be it 0 to 100. Well, anyway. Right, so that's our, now when we select the other, and we set that to on and off, that will go off, and that will get it in our, we want some heat there at 73.6. Do we want heat anyway? No, we're at 21. So really, that's not going down, is it, as much as we would like? That's not going down as much as I would like. Naturally, in real world, it will probably be a bit different to that, because we're just stable 21, 21. And we're stable with, well, we're not, but our minimum is 40 there, but that is not going down very, very much, if it's going down at all. Naturally, if we're putting heat in there, which we are actually going to change the room temperature anyway, so that's going to go up a bit higher. So if I set that to 21.2 degrees, But it doesn't seem to be going this. It's going down quite slow, isn't it? I know there's only a the further the differential, the bigger it will actually it will speed up faster. So we know that. And in real life terms, we don't jump temperatures degrees. So we'll leave that as it is at the moment. So on and off. So now we've selected the on and off type for the heater battery. So we need to bring in our HTCO on this one. Our input, if it exists on the fan coil, it may not. So if it doesn't exist on the fan coil, we leave it like that. And what is healthy? Healthy is true, so it's fail safe. So, and that is false. So let's put a NOT gate here. But we also want the control to tell us that we want to do heating. So we still put a NOT gate anyway, so let's just do that. I'm just thinking aloud. Naturally, that's what this is all about, is thinking aloud. And NOT gate in there, so let's stick a NOT gate in there. So heating T reverse. Put that into there. We'll leave that as it is into that one, or we can take that out of there and put it into there, but I'm just going to leave it into that one there. So now let's do an AND gate. We'll call it in a minute, don't know yet what we'll call it, and we're healthy. So we're healthy, we need to add another one into this and we'll put that into there, heat on. Because of this T, now do we just use a T-stat this time? Rather than using that, because we're using this, we can use the same, yeah, let's just do a T-stat this time. Because we're going to use exactly the same points, the set point, control variable, set point diff. So control variable is our room temperature, as it's always been, room set point, and our diff, well, we don't have that now. I deleted that, didn't I? But I presume I could make another one. So duplicate that and temp diff. So we'll bring it back in again, and we'll set the minimum and maximum from at least a 1 to at least, I don't know, 6. No, that's 3 degrees either side, yeah, maybe. And we'll put that actions set. I'm just looking why I've got a 1 at the end of there. Ah, because I'm using temp diff there for the subtract. We do a 1 there. And we'll put that into our diff there. And we'll take out our there and we'll change that to reverse heating. Reverse is heating, direct is cooling. So we're true. So our set point is 21. Our control variable is 21.2. Ah. So it shouldn't be that, should it? Actions set. So it's going to be direct. So if I put that to 25, oh yeah, it is right, true. So we want heating now. So now I can put that into my AND gate for that. So the first one is type, healthy, required. Views, AX slot sheet. Type. HTCO good. Heating required. And then let's put that down to actions set to 21. Still got a true there. So actions set to 20.8. Still got a true there. Let's be a bit stupid and set this to action set to 20. It's gone off there. Right. Like I said, that one is 0.5 either side. Heater is now off. So what we haven't done is put any off delays in there at the moment, and maybe some on delays. And it's looking a little bit messy. Doesn't look nice and tidy. Let's bring that down to there. Bring that across to there. I could also, let's bring it down some more. Let's try and make it a little bit tidier. You don't have to. It's just, sometimes it's just me, that's all. I just like to try and make it look a bit tidier. Bring that to there. So that's my heater on and off. Now when I enable the fan coil and we've got the fan speed, why is my fan speed showing 0? Oh, we're disabled. Of course, our 15-minute PIR is actions, emergency active, actions, emergency auto. So we're enabled again, minimum fan speed of 40. Oh, we're actually going up because we've got a 1.2 differential. Right. And we've got no heating valve on or cooling valve because, and we're not asking for heating, but that cooling valve, yeah, because we're not in cooling. Not quite. We need to get that down to into the minuses before we actually get into cooling. And then it will come on. Right. So we've got our heater battery off at the moment. But when we shut down, and if we've got a heater on, it's going to shut down, but we want this fan to run on some more. So let's do that. Timer and Boolean delay off, delay, and let's expose the off delay there and off delay active there, and we put our in into there, and we'll take our off delay into there like so, and we're not using the out not, we'll leave it like there as it is at the moment. And we need an off delay time of what we want to set it to, and we don't have anything there for that. So this one is only going to be for monitoring the filter. We're not going to stop the fan coil because the filter's dirty. We just monitor it and put an alarm on. Those are temperatures. We're not even going to do anything with them temperatures. Just put history on, fan off. We're not interested. Fabric protection we are interested in. We've got to still do that logic. So where was I? I want to, I have no idea where I was. We've done that. That's just rename, start. Oh yeah, time delay. That is heater. Heater binary. And we don't want 15 minutes, that's for certain. So let's bring them down a little bit more. And I want to put a time in there. So let's take that and drag it down even more. And we'll do that, duplicate, and we call it fan off delay. And I want to be in seconds, not minutes here. So let's put that into seconds. Seconds. Okay. And I always want an off delay. Well, I put 10 seconds, so it's always going to be, no, I can't put it to 0. And we'll put that to 60, 120, 240. Not that they would actually run it at that. And at the moment I have got 15 seconds off delay. I would actually set that to 30. And that is actually incorrect. It's not sec to milliseconds. It's actually min to milliseconds. This one's going to be sec to milliseconds. Sec to milliseconds. And put that into there. And we don't want the 60 in there. No value. Save. And then we take that and put that into our off delay timer. 30 seconds off delay. So this will run on, so when everything goes off, that will run on for 30 seconds. But if the safety goes off, we really want to switch that off immediately. So let's do that. So our safety is there, true. So let's put an AND gate in there. Come on, AND gate. And that into there. That into there. And our safety, which I could actually take from there and put into there. Views AX slot sheet. Safety. Enable. And then if our safety goes off, so we've got a fire alarm, emergency inactive, that goes off straight away regardless of the off delay, because we're still in a 15-minute there for that. Sorry, 30 seconds, that's on. And then the off delay is 30 seconds. We want to turn that straight off because we don't want to be waiting 15 minutes or anything. That is imperative that the fan switches itself off. And I don't give a damn if the heat is still running or anything like that. And what we can actually do is, if the flow switch gets stuck on, there's my DP there, flow, we can, depending a lot on that for the heating and cooling, what we can do is we can actually put that into an AND gate as well as, so we're proving flow, take that out of there, I'm putting that into there, but we also want to prove that the fan coil has been enabled. So we got fan coil is enabled, which it isn't, so we switched everything off there. What's this loop working on? Fan coil enabled. Speed, yeah, it doesn't want to be working on the fan coil. Flow. So that would work. So we're going to go views, AX slot sheet, and that is DP. I'm going to put flow there, but I'll just put DP, and that's enabled. Not that one. That's enabled. So if we've got a fire alarm situation, we are shut down regardless. Rename. Start. Heating. Cooling. Right. What haven't we done? Fabric protection. We've not done fabric protection, have we? So let's enable. And we still got a true output there. That's enabled, and the loop is true, and it's starting in the minuses now. Got cooling valve. Because set point's 20, we're at 21.2. Yeah, so we do want to be cooling. Frost protection. So what do we want to do if we get fabric protection? So we're below 16 degrees and everything is off. So what we want to do is switch it on. So that fabric protection is going to have to be moved up, because we still need the safety in play. Then we want to switch on that, so we're going to have an OR gate there. And we switch on 15, no, we don't want the OR gate there. We've got frost protection, so regardless of the sensor, we wanted the OR gate to go in there. So we don't give a damn about the PIR, the presence sensor. We've got a frost condition, a fabric condition here. So we need that to go into there. And there's my OR gate for that. Into there. And views, AX slot sheet. Enable. I'm going to put auto, but enable and fabric. So that's where we're going to put our frost issue if we've got one, which will be taken on our room temperature. So we'll put a T-stat in there and fabric protect, pin slots, and let's put our room temperature, which is there, into the control variable. Our set point is actually our fabric protection now. We want to take the null off there, and the diff, we'll just put a 2 in there. And if our room temperature drops below 16 minus 1, no, but then it's only going to go to 17. So I want that 2. My room temperature goes to 15, which is quite low then that comes on. So let's put our room temperature actions, emergency override, 14.9. Yeah, that comes on. Fan speed's at 64, so fan speed's going. And our heating valve is starting to, oh no it won't, because we have got our setting in here. We got our heat on because our setting is saying to not use the heating valve. In fact, let's just set this to use the heating valve now. Not 10 volt control, and our heating valve is on. And we need to take that true, but we also need to put it into an AND first, because I need the safety. Because even if for safety there's a fire alarm, we don't want that to work. Let's be honest. We don't want to start the fan. We don't want to be accused of helping the fire out. So let's put that into an AND there. And then we need our safety, which is there. And then if our safety is okay, we can do the fabric protection. So that is safety and fabric T-stat. So AX slot sheet. So safety and fabric protect. So we're running that, and of course the difference between the control variable and the set point is automatically going to put the heating valve on anyway, whether we like it or not. I think that is it. Let's put the room temperature back to normal. So our fabric protection is now off. I think if I just move that across to there. Don't you just love logic? Well, I do. My hobby as well as my job. Can't be better than that. Bit messy, isn't it, with my blocks here, but I don't want to. I don't know. Just yeah, that would do. Can we add anything else? Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to bring all these points to the outside of the folder, because at the moment we don't have anything on the outside. So views, wire sheet, as you can see, we don't have anything on the outside of the folder. So we want to bring them out because we'll be using this for lots of fan coils. So I call that fan coil _1. I mean, once we've done it all, you can have fan coil 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and just copy and paste. So because I've got it in order of what I did my blocks, let's just in fact, I'm going to go into the folder, then I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to go composite, and then that's an in 10 there. We're going to go in 10 there. The PIR, room occupied, and in 10. Fan coil fault. Oh, I moved that fault up there, did I? Alright, well, I'm going to go with the what's here. So room temperature, fan coil on temperature, fan coil off, coil temperature, fan coil DP, fan coil HTCO, high temperature cutout, fan coil filter. There's no way you do all these points on an H10, not without using a module on an eMMC module. Room set point we don't want there. We don't want them. Adjustable. Enable fan coil. We do want that. So that's going to be an out. Heating valve. Out. Cooling valve. Out. Fan speed. Out. And if it was a on and off heater battery, out. And that is it. So now we haven't got anything on the any value, any names, as you can see. They're all, which is no good to us. So luckily I've got them in order there, so I've got my names, so I don't need to have to think what point I put to what. So views, AX slot sheet. So in 10 I know is going to be start fan coil safety OK. So start FCU safety OK, and I can actually put a forward slash in that. And that is going to be room occupied PIR, and that's the room temperature. I can see that as well. It's got the Celsius there. So room space temperature. That'll be somewhere on the wall, or hopefully not on the ceiling. Fan coil on temp, FCU on coil temp, FCU off coil temp. Fan coil DP, I can tell it's DP, I've got the flow there. So FCU pressure flow DP using pitot tubes, pitot sensors. Fan coil FCU HTCL. Now I may not know what that is, so let's do high temp cut out. The next one is the filter, dirty or clean. So FCU filter. It's not really a panel filter, it's just a fabric filter normally on the fan coils. You normally get them cleaned every 3 months, every quarter. Well, some people do. Fan coil filter. The next one is fan coil fault, FCU. Oops. FCU status. Sometimes I think status can just be enabled or whatever. So fan coil FCU. If I put fault and it's giving me, yeah, because it's not set to it's not set like the HTCO. So false is actually healthy, so it's going to give me a false. So true will be a fault. Okay, and then enable fan coil. And that is heating valve, stroke actuator, control key C, cooling valve, stroke actuator, and that one is fan speed, FCU fan speed, you may or may not have fan speed, and then we could actually go one step further and have a selection, and it may be just 3 stages of speed rather than 0 to 10, so we can actually build on that same logic and have a selector switch like we did with the fan coil heater battery or heating coil, and say whether it is a 0 to 10 volt control or it's a stage control. So there is that as well that we could actually do if we wanted to. Don't know if you want to see that. If you want to see that, put a note in the bottom in the comments, and we can always pick it up and actually do a little bit more with this. What's that one? True heat on and heat. Okay, that is my fan coil heater. So FCU binary heater if installed. Oops. I don't need to put the I've spelled binary wrong anyway, but fan coil heater, fan coil on stroke off heater if installed. Right, so now we've got all our points that we can actually bring in to this. I'm going to room occupied, start fan coil safety. So first of all, new Boolean writable. I'm just going to put that to actions set to true, and I'm going to put a true into there. I'll put a true into there because it's going to kick it off anyway, and then I want a true into there. We've got flow, but I want a false now, so new Boolean actions set false. I want my false into there. Oh, I don't, do I? I want a true into there. Healthy. No fault. Fan speed 80%. So we must have a differential between our, well, our room space temperature, it's saying it's at 0 degrees. So if that's the case, we're in fabric, aren't we? Yeah, so we've got an alarm on the room temperature because it's at 0 degrees. And we would have kicked in our fabric protection. So regardless of whether the PIR was on or off, we're actually going for it with starting the fan coil. Start FCU. Okay, so I've already done that. Rename. Start underscore FCU. Tell me I've done that one as well. No, I haven't. Okay. Well, I've got an and there. What's that enable? I don't know. Rename. I'm just going to do the opposite. FCU enable instead of enable FCU. That's okay. Right. So, where are we? We're done, are we? Are we done? Have we actually sorted it all out? Let me just bring that down to there, bring that down to there. Yes, that's going to be slightly up. But if I bring that down to there, and then bring them down and nuts. Are we done? Are we done? I don't know whether we're done or not. I think we are done. Unless you want to put something in the comments and want to see something else. Or maybe you don't like this. Or maybe you come across a fan coil which doesn't have what I'm telling it has. Which I've seen a lot of fan coils in my time. I don't be very surprised. Unless it's got HEPA filters and things like that, which is understandable when it's clean room environments, etc. So that's Fan Coil Control, and I can't think of anything else that we can add. Let's just give it a room temperature at least or something. Let's go into outside of the folder, new, numeric writable, actions, set. I would say people would have it at 22, normal. And Fan Coil on and off, well, that's only for, we can delete them, that's only for information only on the graphic. I presume I could do a graphic, could quickly pull up a graphic or quickly do a graphic, because some of you don't like graphics, so let's do a graphic. Files, new, px file, FCU, open up that. Right, I haven't sorted out the size yet, but let's leave it as it is. Let's bring some things across here. So I'm going to bring across all these inputs and outputs, and I'm just going to bring them and drop them at the moment because I don't know what I'm going to do with them. So bound label, out value, make display name. What I could do though is that the background's always going to be the same, whether it's in a boolean or a numeric, we're always going to have the same background. And we could also do the foreground as well, iStatus foreground, and we're always going to have a border groove. Mouse overs and all that lot later, and I'm going to change them, well, I've got it all there, and change it all to 16 because I'm getting old in my old age and my eyesight's not as good as it used to be. And if I'm using my MacBook for writing logic and not my large screen here, I've got to put my glasses on. But I'm okay with my large screen, so I'm not too bothered about that. Right, so let's now bring across some set points that we can adjust, and surely we just didn't have a few of them. I know I had a minimum off and a minimum. They don't look that much. We have a fan off delay, fabric protection, PIR time, heating type, we did that, fan off delay, fabric protection. Where's my minimum and maximum for my speed? Oh, you're there. I brought it across already. Okay. And I brought the fabric protection. Right, so let's just bring them across. I'm just going to bring them and drop them at the moment because I'm not going to be using that style. And also my fabric protection at 16 is an adjustable set point, and my minimum and is adjustable set point, and my room temperature is an adjustable set point. It is nothing to do with the inputs there. So they're my outputs and they're my inputs. I think we would agree on that. So that one, we can change that colour. So where we've got our foreground there, we can get rid of that because there's no alarms attached to that anyway. Animate, and we can go green when we're on, and when we're not on we go black. We can do the same with that one, so let's unanimate that. There's no alarms attached to that, so again we want that to just be green on, and there's no alarms attached to the enable fan coil, so we can get rid of that animate, and then green on. We could change them so that if they got a value they turn green. Should we do that? Yeah, why not? So we'll unanimate that. We'll animate it. Click twice, -inf, +inf. Change that to, well, it can be 0.5, it can be 0.1. And then when we've got a value, we go green. And I can't be bothered to do it again for the cooling, so I'm just going to duplicate that and take the order cross, Control key C, and paste it into that, Control key V, and then I can just delete that and I can put that into there. Now the speed's always going to be 40 to 80, so I'm just going to leave that as green over time, or just leave it alone completely. Heat off. So when there's an heat on, animate. We'll do it the dark red. Oh, I tell you what, the cooling valve, we could do that dark red, couldn't we? Let's do that dark red. So when we're using the cooling valve, we're dark red. The heating valve, and when we're using the cooling valve, we're blue. There we go. That looks better for me. We need to take all these underscores out. Right, occupied, room temperature. We need to click on that and bring up a graph. And we can click on them and bring up a graphs healthy. So let's unanimate. No, put that back again. I'll put that back again. I'll go back to animate and eye status, and it's foreground. But this time I'm going to put green there, and then when it's not healthy, it will show red and white, which is your alarm here. See this? So we'll leave that like that. Clean. Well, if it's not, there's going to be an alarm, and if it's not, it's going to be an alarm. So we can actually leave these exactly as they are and put the green for these three at the bottom: null, unact, and OK. Because when it goes into alarm, they're going to change to white anyway. And the same with this one. So we can put the green there. And that will do for that one. And this one though doesn't want to be that. Unanimate, animate, and that's going to be a green. When there's flow, these are in fault at the moment, so hence that's there. That's the room temperature at 22. So what I'm going to do now is do these. These are my set point adjusts. So we'll go to kit, PX kit PX. There we go. And we'll go to action button. Bring that across. So this is one for the time. PIR time. How long we're having the time on for. So action binding. Let's paste that in there, and then I'm going to do /set. I just know it is that. If you don't know it's that, you can go to your component chooser, which is that, and then click set. I just know it's /set. I do it that many times. Plus, and we want value binding because we're going to display it here. And at the moment, if I try and animate this, I can't animate it at all. Right clicking, it won't let me. Not until I put in a value binding, which is actually the point. No /set. Now I can right click this and I can animate, and I can put in out value. Let me just put you on pause a minute. Right, out values. Alright, it was just my daughter coming in asking me a question. Out value. Okay. So background. I'm going to animate it. Not that you really need to, but I just do, in case anyone tries to override it or is an issue with the point. And then this one I put yellow in, just a light yellow in there, and it distinguishes that it's a set point for me and probably for the client. Font, I'm going to put that to 16, and that is it for me. And then I'm going to lower that into this the 2 squares, and that's my PIR time. In fact, we haven't got the all them to 16, so let me just do that. Edit properties and change the font to 16 for all them, like so, and then I can put that into there. So that's one of my set points done. These are going to be my other set points, so I can drag them to there, and then I can bring them in there. Fabric protection, let's put a space there in the right place. Minimum fan speed, okay. Maximum fan speed in there. Room, let's just actually put a set point in there. I just had a cat jump up as well and decided to lay under my monitor. Fabric protect there. Fan off delay there. Heating type and PIR time on. Let's just bring them slightly out a bit more, and only try and leave 2 squares, because when you're looking at a web page, if I don't leave 2 squares, it sometimes cuts that off. So I always try and leave 2 squares gap, so that when we're on a web page, it actually looks better. Otherwise, if I actually went down, if I just did it like this, we can see it fine. When it gets to a web page, probably the O and the N will actually be cut off on the web page. So I always try and leave it at least 2 squares. So we're done for 15 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll just bring them across to that, and I'm going to duplicate that one and paste it there. Duplicate and paste there. Duplicate, and I want 3 now, so I'm just going to duplicate them, and there's my points there. And then I go into there, Control key C, Control key V, / set, Control key V. Do these for all these. Control key C, Control key V, / set, Control key V. Fabric protect is false. Ah, that is not my fabric protect set point, is it? That is not my fabric protect set point. That's my fabric protect set point. I don't need that. Or if we do, we can put it into there. So we can take that out. And we delete that. So fabric protection set point. set, control key V, that one, control key C, control key V, and I forgot to put set at the end, /set, control key C, control key V /set, control key V, control key C, control key V /set, control key V. We still haven't done the graphics yet, I know. We're just setting up all the points first. I find graphics sometimes take a lot longer than writing the software. Right, fabric protection. This one here, this is Fan Coil, so fabric protect. So we've got a false there, and we probably don't want a false. We want something like off and on, and we can do it in there, but I'm going to show you how to do it also in this. So we can go and take that one, for example, we can duplicate it, and we can put that there, and we can bring them across to there, and let's put the ORD in for the fabric protection. That's the ORD for it. But I'm going to take this text that's got out value, which is showing true and false, and I'm going to unanimate it, and then I'm going to click on it again, animate it, and then I'm going to go Boolean simple, and fabric protect on, fabric protect off. Go OK, go OK. Bit big, so fabric on and off. It says fabric protection there, fabric off, fabric on. Right, and we don't need that. Delete. So that's our point. Apart from us actually changing the underscores of that, we're probably really done. If there was a lot of points, I would duplicate the page. Should I show you? Should I show you what I would do if I had loads and loads of points which had underscores on? What I would do if I had lots and lots of points with underscores on, I would duplicate the page, and I would, from my duplication page, I would go to edit, so up here, WPXPX view, AX text file editor there, and I would click on the A and B there, and I would put an underscore there, and I'll put a space there, and I'll replace all, and then I'll go back into PX editor. You won't see any values now or anything, but I've got rid of all my underscores there, and then I would open up my main page like so. So I didn't do the right there. Edit that, highlight that, press, yeah, it's not doing it right on my Mac keyboard. Control key, pressing Control key, copy, Fan Coil. So I'm not interested in that anymore now. I can get rid of that. Delete. I've already done them there anyway, but I'll delete them. And I'll delete them. This is when you've got a lot of words to edit. And there we have it. Let's put that to, I don't want 3 boxes, 2 boxes is enough there. And I don't want all them there. And 2 boxes is enough there. Right, let's get onto the graphic. That's what you've been waiting for. So that's how we've done the points. And what we can do is we can leave the points still on the graphic if you wanted to. And we can put them in some nice boxes or make a box. So while I'm in Kit PX here, if I go to this Boolean image and drag it across and then edit it, and if I put a border on there of solid, and I'll put a border of 2, and I'll change it to like light green, go OK, and I'll stick a background on of white, but you don't have to if you don't want to, and then put that in there, and then put that there. I can do reorder to bottom, and I'll put a border around it. Let's do it the same again, but this time the cat's in the way. Come on, cat, out of the way. Do the same again, but this time differently. So we get that, we'll give it a white background. This time we'll give it a border of black, as it is. Okay. And then I put this around that. But now what we're going to do, reorder to bottom, and I'm going to duplicate that, and this time I'm going to double click it, put it to black or grey or whatever you want it to, but reorder to the bottom, and then I'm going to go in with 1 arrow, click it again, unclick, in with 1 arrow, up with 1 arrow. So you've got like a shadow there with that one now. Maybe you like that. Or what else could we do? What else could we could probably have it grey. I don't know. You get the idea though. You can mess around with this Boolean image. Let's just bring one in there. Let's put it as a background of there, and border, let's give it, instead of making one, let's give it a ridge. Okay, okay, and then right click, reorder to bottom. So there's a ridge done for you. Anyway, should we use palette for Niagara itself? Because sometimes people won't have the palettes that I use. I normally use RGX SVG library, or I use the Distech palette. That library I don't think we're at. I think what we're going to just do is use the normal library for, see, I don't use it that much because it's not even there. So click on the palette, click Kit, and PX M4 SVG, and we want ductwork. And if you want to see what it looks like, you can actually click on the preview, and then when you click on the ductwork, you'll be able to see duct horizontal, medium. Well, I don't think we need medium. I think we just need something like short. So that's putting that to there, and then we need some ends. So there's vertical, we want horizontal. Vertical, 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 vertical end caps, horizontal, end cap left. No, we don't want an end cap. Yes, we want that. Drag that across. And yes, we want that. Drag that across. So place that on there. Place that on there. Now we want a filter, don't we? Filter, filter, filters. And we just go for a single filter. We don't want UV filter, we don't want HEPA filter, we just want a single filter. Drop that into there. And the filter is that. Control keys, oops. Control key C. And Control key V. Now that's working, because this filters on and off, and that's working with numerics. I'm going to take that, Control key C, put it in it as memory. I'm just going to find out what the end one is, which is a 4. And then I'm going to unanimate, animate, and I want that to be 4 when it's dirty. Go OK. OK. So there's my filter, and the filter will be on the incoming. The air's coming in that way. So we need to have some temperature sensors. Sensors, not piping. Duct. Here we go. Here's the duct. So we've got a duct DP. We can have that. And then we've got low temp top, pressure, set point, duct, set point top. Let's have a look at that. That's no good to me. And outside air top. That's humidity. That's smoke. So temp there. Let's just use that one. So we had an incoming one, and we had an outgoing one. And that is our temp on. So I'm just going to highlight both them, copy them, paste. Oh, that's something I didn't show you about putting histories on, did I? Let's put your histories on these 2 points here. So actions, kit pop up, scroll down, Control key C, Control key V, default chart, and then you can say whatever you want there. Leave it as pop up or on temp, whatever you want to put, whatever you want in there. And then we'll do another one for you. Kit pop up. Take that, Control key C, Control key V, chart, OK, and off, temp. And that does it for that one. Now I'll delete them. I'll put that there, copy it, paste, just move them there. So that's my on temp, that's my off temp, and that one's my DP. Probably need some more space here in a minute. That's my DP flow. Let's bring them across there just for the moment, out of the way. Right, fan. Let's do a fan. Fan going to the right. Fans. Horizontal to the right. And should we control that on the on or off? Or the flow? Well, we're already showing the flow, so we want it on the enable, so we want to control it on that because at the moment it's disabled. So that's what we want to control it on. Control key C. Fan. Control key V. And looking at this, it is binary, so that's fine. So there's our fan. Now we've got a heating valve and a cooling valve. So let's go to our coils, and our cooling coil is there. So we'll drop that into there, and our cooling coil value is there. And then we've got a heating coil. Coil's heating there. Drag that across. Put that in there. Our heating coil value is there. So let's put that in there. Let's make this run. So let's go to, let's come out edit mode. Emergency inactive. Emergency auto. So we're now enabled again now. And why are we in cooling? Why is our cooling valve at 14? Room temperature 22. Room set point 20. Oh, okay. Alright then. Let's just change room set point to 25 degrees. Right, I should expect eventually some pictures coming up on this. Let's duplicate on the heating and cooling coils up at the top there. Let's slow them down to a bit there, 16. So that was my heating, and that was my cooling, and that is my fan speed. Duplicate, and just put that there, and then put that across there, and my fan enabled. Duplicate, put that there. My filter, that's my flow for my filter, which we've done that. Fan coil flow, filter, duplicate, put that across there, clean, and healthy, duplicate, put that underneath there, as it's healthy. My flow is actually going to be here, reorder to top, and do we have a flow at the bottom? So let's go back to our sensors and duct DP left top, duct bulb temp left, duct average temp top. I can't see a duct bottom one for it. I don't use this pallet a lot, to be honest with you, but this is the standard pallet that you will get with your system. So let's just and that will be that there. So I'm trying to find the back of it. I'm just going to just move these out of the way just to get to the back of it. Delete that. Put these back in its place because I'm going to use another graphic for the background. But I think if I actually get them in the right place, I might not need to even use. We still put one on though. Yeah, that's too close to that for me. So I'm going to move that there, move that there, and then I'm going to take them and move them across some more. And I want to put that there, that there. Well, with there, and we can see the red going up there. Let's just change this set point. Let's put it to 18 degrees. And we can edit that there. Put that across there. That one can go further across there. And then I want to get to my ducts. Where are we? Duct work. And I put small before, and now I'm going to go horizontal, medium. And just drop that into there, reorder to the bottom. So that's your fan coil. You got your minimum and maximum speed, you got your fabric protection here, fan off delay, time, whether we're doing that heating, so we're doing 0 to 10 at the moment for heating. Now if that was changed, we don't want to see that, so we can play with that if we want to. So if it was changed, what would we want to see for the coil? We would want to see not gas fired, heating electric, we would want to see that. And we can use it with, so that's our heater off and on, so let's go for that first. Control key C, and let's put that on for the ORD for that. And we got on and off, so that's fine, that's good. So we will want to see that, and that when it goes on, this will change. But we want to also go invisible and visible now for when we select, which is this one, heating type. So Control key C, which is the heating type, and if I go to that, which is my heating, plus I do another value binding, I paste it into there, and then I do visible, animate, not that one, select that one, and I don't know which way it needs to be at the moment, but I'll just do that there. So at 0 to 10, that's visible, true, so the other one wants to be false. Take that, plus value binding, take the same, animate, false. Okay, okay. Wrong way then, isn't it? True, false. Right, so now that's disappeared. So now what I'm going to do is change this to on and off. That's disappeared, but the other one should come on. Right, where are you? You're there. You should now be on. So on and off. And then you're going to go there. And heater on and off, duplicate. You would go there. And then you would also want to be invisible. Not on that. Plus value binding. And then we select that into there, build. And we select the invisible, animate, and we select our value binding, which is a heating type, and that is false, and that is true. And then we want this not to be true, so again, we don't want to be seeing this on this particular one. So again, value binding. Gets a little bit complicated. You've got to try and keep with it, but I presume you can watch this over and over again if you're having some issues. Animate that. One way, I think it needs to be like that. I think. I could be wrong. So yeah, it's now disappeared. So I want to put that now over the top of that, and then if I select 0 to 10, why hasn't that changed? I've probably got the wrong setting there. It's a heating type, Control key C, and I've probably set that at not heating type. Yeah, thought as much. Duh. Do it again. Animate. Don't want that. I want heating type. Which one's which? Can't remember. Which one was false? I've lost my train of thought. So it's not that one. So it's got to be the other way round. That. False. True. Now it will work. Yeah, I'm using the wrong one. So that's using normal heat. Let's put some heat on. So we want to change our set point to 28 degrees. So that will go down, that will go off. But we're on 0 to 10 volt control. That's electric control. Heat is on. Heat on. Because that's using the T-stat, isn't it? And not using the long PI loop that's going from 100% to minus 100%. So, but we wouldn't jump temperature from 16, 17, 18 straight to 28. It just doesn't happen like that. So I'm not too worried about that. That's eventually going to go round and start using the heating coil, but that's what it would look like if we had the heat on. I just don't like that being too close to that. I think I need at least another space there. I mean, if I selected heating type 0 to 10, naturally that's going down and that's going to go up. Right, we're only at 80% because of the big difference between the set point and the control variable. So that's your graphics for you using the standard package. And if that was dirty, emergency active, that goes dirty, the filter, emergency auto. So that's selecting whichever type we are using. And flow. Yeah, I think that is it. Now, if you like the video, I'd appreciate it if you actually subscribe for me and hit the like button. Even if you didn't like it, if you can subscribe and hit the like button. But I think that is it for this example of a fan coil. And let's be honest, we have a lot of fan coils in our industry. So by using this logic, you can just duplicate it for all your fan coils. Thank you for watching. 2 hours 31, so that's quite a long video. Bye.